So, again, is it wrong to have a massive age gap in relationships, like a 50-year-old man with like a 19 or 18-year-old woman?
So yeah, I don't think it's like objectively wrong. I think that there
Holy
are
shit!
lots
Can you
of
turn your mic down, dude? Whoa!
Is my
blow our
mic loud?
fucking eardrums out with
It's
that shit.
pretty loud. It's pretty loud.
Is it?
I can't change it. You'll have to change it, Alex.
I'll modify it. Okay, this is better.
Turn them down by like 50%.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think age gaps are objectively wrong. I think that there are a lot of dangers that come with age gaps, though. I've had numerous relationships with 10-year age gaps, so I'm not completely against them, but I do kind of put a lot of restrictions on those relationships normally, because me having a lot more experience, me being a lot older, normally making more money, having my own career set up, having my own stability, kind of gives me a huge advantage on this person and gives me the ability to easily manipulate them in a lot of different ways. So I think that as long as you put restrictions on the relationship and the two of you have these conversations about the dangers of the relationship and agree on those things, then everything should be fine.
Okay, cool. Andrew, you're up, my man.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if a 60-year-old man marries an 18-year-old girl. I don't give a shit. As long as they're reproducing, I don't care. There's not a single moral argument that you can make. Not one. There's not one. It's impossible. You can't say that society claims that these people are adults. They're adults. They can be drafted. They can make all of their own reasonable decisions and then go, but you're so fucking stupid, you can't decide who you're going to get married to. You can't decide that, though, because you're too fucking dumb. It's like, dude, that's the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. I don't know where leftists and progressives come up with this shit, but it's nonsense. That's nonsense. Total nonsense.
Andrew, quick clarifying question before we go to Michael. Do you think that a relationship with like an older guy and a younger girl is just from like a pragmatic perspective better, worse, or the same as a relationship where two people are the same age?
In some ways, it's a lot better. So all of them are going to have their own ups and downs, but in a lot of ways, I'm sure it's a lot better. It's very much better for the woman and probably very much better for the man. In many ways, he probably wants a young, hot chick, and she's going to give him lots and lots of kids, and he probably has a ton of money. So, I mean, I don't see what the problem is.
Okay, cool. Let's go next to Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is, for me, I think 18 was too young, personally. But that's me personally. I don't have a moral argument against it, but I think 18 is probably the point where I think it might be too young. But I think the issue is, obviously, you probably brought me on this debate because my girlfriend is 24 years younger than me.
I actually didn't know Michael. I had no idea.
Yeah.
You texted me that.
Okay. Yeah. So she and we have a lot of in common. We're both into animal rescue. We're both into SEC football. We're both into the gym heavily. And we have a lot of stuff in common. So I think one of the issues is going to be back what Tom said before. There are studies that show with like May-December marriages where men are more likely, and this is also Dr. David Buss talks about this in his evolutionary psychology books, where he talks about men are more likely to be more of a mate guarding person when there's a huge disparity between age. But they'll also find there's another question you should ask, Alex, which is, I think, a secondary question, is it natural for older men to want to date younger women and vice versa? Because in every society, Dr. David Buss's 37 culture study he did in 1989, he showed that in all cultures, as men climbed the socioeconomic ladder, the difference between their age and their wife's age increased in all cultures. That is Mexico, Norway, the Yanomamo tribes of South America, Russia, and the United States. In all cultures, they found that to be the case. So it's one of these situations where one of my issues is we're going to talk about, is it healthy or is it moral? It seems to be when women want to date older men, and numerous studies show that they do. Now, how much older? 3 years is just generally the number that we see. Sometimes maybe 10, maybe 20. But when women want to date older men, that is judged by society to be a healthy preference. When men want to date younger women, that is judged by society to be creepy. And I think that is a moral and a huge double standard. So I think that's the issue. If you have two people, I'll tell you, like my girlfriend now, if we were the same age, she would not have probably been interested in me. Now it's one of these situations where I wasn't ready to settle down and to be in a relationship and to consider things like marriage and kids until the age I was now. And that's where she is in her life. And so from a reproductive standpoint, it's actually a lot easier for her if she wanted to have kids now or like say in the next 5 years. And for me to do it at the same time. We're at the same place as far as our I don't know what the word I'm looking, relationship journey. I think we're at the same place in our lives. For me, it just came a little later than other people. But the other thing is, most people don't think I'm 46 years old. Most people, when they meet me, think I'm like 33. And I've chosen to keep myself in really good shape. And so that is another reason why we have a lot in common. So I think it is contextual. But like Andrew said, I don't see a moral reason, specifically ad hoc for any 50-year-old man to date any 25-year-old woman. I don't think that there's a specific moral reason to deny that.
Same follow-up question. You mentioned that what the reality is, but I guess I will ask you the odd. Do you think it's better from a pragmatic perspective, worse, or the same as a relationship where people are the same age?
Yeah, so it's impossible because I live from I used to be an option. I used to work for a brokerage as an option seller. I live in statistics, and the answer is it's within one standard deviation. I think it's good, but I think you can have bad examples of where you have. I think you can have two people of the same age and they be in an unhealthy relationship, and I think you can have an older man who's been through a lot of trials and tribulations. And I think one of the reasons why my relationship works with Kylie is because I've had situations where communication has broken down with a woman, or we've gotten into irrational fights and arguments. And I explained to her, these are my experiences. And in order for us to make it 75 years, like my grandparents did, these are the things that we're going to have to do as far as communication is concerned. And she can choose to listen or not listen. And that's the issue that happens, because I do have a lot more experience. But like Tom said, am I using my experience to as leverage to manipulate her? A manipulative person would manipulate you if they were 25 and 21, or if they were 45 and 21. It's a manipulative person is manipulative. I don't think age is necessarily the issue. As much as money could be the issue, I think it's just as likely. I just don't think what I'm saying is I meet people throughout my life who are at different psychological ages and different levels of maturity, and it doesn't have that much to do with their actual chronological age. So I don't think you can just say it's better or worse. I think two mature individuals having a relationship together, that's healthy, and two not mature individuals having a relationship together is toxic. It doesn't matter what age they are.
It seems like you're agnostic on it. Basically, it's not better or worse. It just depends on the.
Well, I think most relationships right now are failing. Period. So it's not. I don't know necessarily it's a function of age.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, Lab, you are up.
I think it's case by case. I think generally my opinion is probably that if you are an older man trying to date a younger woman, you're creepy. And I think the same thing with like an older woman trying to date a younger man. Like, I just think you're creepy. I think that the power differential, I mean, that's why I say case by case, right? Like if you're someone like a celebrity, like Billie Eilish dated a Jesse Rutherford, who's only like, I think 14 years older than her, but they're at about the same place in their career and make about the same amount of money and can't really, so that makes a little bit more sense to me. That's like less creepy and weird. I mean, I even feel my fiance is only 5 years older than me, and I can feel it. Like it's felt in the relationship, just like even with like funny videos or shows that we used to watch. And we had the conversation earlier in our relationship, like he'd only ever dated women his same age or women older than him. And he didn't ever think that he'd date someone. We met when I was 21. He didn't ever think that he'd date someone as young as me, but because I already had an established career, made my own money, I'd been living on my own for 6 years. It was just like a different dynamic. So I think that overall, I think the biggest problem is not just the power dynamic in the age, like the exact age, but just how much life you've been able to live and how much influence you can have, like monetarily, like financial influence, or just emotional manipulation. Like young women and young men are very naive, and I don't see that as a positive thing. Maybe, people like Andrew probably think it's a positive thing to be able to lead your very naive woman who just follows you around, but I don't necessarily think that that's a positive thing. So.
Okay.
Well, Leah, I'm curious.
Michael, real quick before and then it'll be open panel. You can go first. So just to quickly sum it up for the chat. So it seems like, and you guys stop me if I'm wrong about your characterization, it seems like Andrew's saying from a pragmatic perspective, it's probably better. Michael and Tom are like, case by case, it's neutral, and Lav is saying, no, it's worse. So am I summing everyone's positions correctly?
Well, I think it's case by case, but I think generally.
But you also think it's creepy.
I think there should be a social stigma against it.
Okay. So
yes.
so that would be your the negative position. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, left. So my question is, from my experience, when I deal with younger women, I don't find that it's them being manipulated more than I see them manipulating men. So that's why I kind of have an issue with this. Young, hot women are the ones being manipulated. I'm looking at a $6 billion industry of OnlyFans, and I'm not seeing it's the young, hot women that are being manipulated. I see them manipulating men.
This is going to turn into a much bigger issue if you get me started on the OnlyFans thing, because when I see women sell themselves out and hoard themselves out to men, I think that they're victims. So I think that is disgusting. I think it's dysgenic. And I think that OnlyFans preys on young women who have terrible backgrounds. And yeah, sure, they're making money, but at the cost of what?
Okay,
right?
but at the same time, let's completely throw OnlyFans out of it. Women going on dates with men, or like, for instance, dating apps. Women will do 6,000 left swipes before they swipe right once. They find 80% of men on dating apps to be unattractive, and there's several studies that show women are on there not even to date, just to get attention from men. My point is, going back to what I was saying before, from my experience, when I'm seeing 26%
do you
of men,
think that we should teach women that getting attention from men is the end all be all, or do you think that that's something?
Well, I mean, do you think that we should teach society
genetics.
that all of their morality is going to come from
think
what
that
you
can say
find
that's
creepy?
genetics.
From what you find creepy?
Well, no,
I find it
didn't say-
creepy. I find it creepy. Thank God. Well, Lav finds it creepy. The debate's over, so we'll go. Why don't you make an actual argument for it? Make an argument against
Well, I
it. I'd like
did.
to hear one. What is it? What's the actual argument?
If you have too much power, so if you've accumulated like a ton of wealth in your lifetime, then you could financially manipulate your young wife or girlfriend who barely makes any money, and now she's in a relationship where she can't leave because you make so much money, and she thinks that her life is made, and she puts up with so much more.
That poor
potentially
woman.
abuse.
That poor
potentially
woman.
abuse.
That poor
because
wait. That
of the-
poor
Isn't that
wait.
her
Let me make sure I got
manipulating
this
him
right. Let
now?
me make sure I got this right. The poor woman who was living behind a dumpster, who was elevated by the older man, and now feels like she can't
think
leave
the only
because
thing
she
that
has
matters
it.
is money?
Let me finish. Because now she has it made in the shade. She just feels like, oh, I can't leave anymore because my life is just too good from the crack shack that this guy elevated me out of. That
if
poor
the
woman.
only
Laughed.
thing that matters is money, then sure, that absolutely stands. But if you want a partner who emotionally nourishes you, who sees you as an equal, and who's going to raise
want equals.
healthy and successful kids with you, that's not what you want. You
What
don't want
woman? No,
you don't
that's
want
bull-
to give children to a man who's
Men do
abusive.
not
You
want
don't want to live
equals.
in that.
If we wanted masculine,
You
strong,
don't want
tough,
equals.
hey, no.
You do not want
listen.
equal.
If men wanted masculine, strong, tough women, they'd all be gay. Laugh.
I'm not talking about equal, and
They
that's
don't
what I'm
want
talking about.
equals. Laugh.
We've talked about this before.
They want
Andrew.
submissive
It's
women. Laugh.
Equal dominion over the earth, not exactly equal in stature and ability. It's equal. We complete each other. We're yin and yang.
Would you say you and your fiance are equals?
Yeah, I think that we are equals.
Okay. I don't want to.
No, you took it personal. You can.
Okay, isn't he like a CEO of a major company? Like you're, I don't. What are you doing? Like that?
Well, I'm actually just starting a podcast this week. It's called Bloodbath. It's with a girl called Emily Wilson. Emily Saves America. First episode is going to come out next week. But I've created my own social media empire. I have amassed almost 1 million followers on social media. I took myself out of poverty, abject poverty. Now I mostly just like to be like a housewife because I don't want to work and I don't really have to work, but still, I make sure that the bills are paid, obviously with the money that, my fiance brings in, but I'm basically I run the house. I run the domestics. I make sure that everything is clean.
Why is that not creepy?
What do you mean?
Well, I think that's creepy. Tell me why I'm wrong. It just makes me feel like it's icky.
For what about?
Why is that wrong? Just all of it. Just everything about it makes me.
I guess
feel
you're
icky.
entitled to your own opinion, Andrew.
Is that the extent of your argument too? That you just feel like it's icky? It's icky.
If you do not have the IQ to understand something that I've already explained to you, I'm not going to sit here.
You
and try
didn't
to
actually
explain
explain a
it to you 5 more
moral
times.
argument. You said there was a power dynamic issue.
I'm
It's
not
a moral
making
argument.
a moral argument. I'm making.
Then why did we
logistics
care?
argument.
If it's not an ought claim to morals, why should we care?
You don't have to.
Why should anybody take your ought seriously then?
You don't have to. This is a
so
fucking
nobody
web
should.
show, Andrew.
So nobody should. Nobody should take your ought claim seriously.
Why should we take yours seriously?
Well, because if I make a
you're
claim,
waffling right now.
if I make a claim and absolutely nobody can refute it with any type of moral imperative for why you ought not do that, then I think you should just accept
Andrew,
the claim.
I already gave you my example, which is that if you can financially or emotionally manipulate your much younger partner based off of what you have amassed in your lifetime.
Why is that wrong? Why is that wrong?
I think abuse is typically wrong.
That's not abuse.
Okay.
Why is that abuse?
Well, then I guess debate
what
over.
You consider some weird form of, what is the manipulation? What does that look like in this? And what is the manipulation? Like, he's older and wiser, so he says you can have X amount of allowance per week.
Let me put this into perspective. I do think the situation changes once you're married. So I think once you have a legal obligation to your partner, and that you guys are under, law, I think that's why prenups are good.
Now it's not creepy anymore because a state contract is involved. Now that there's a state contract, the creepiness is out the window, Lav.
Yeah, I think that once you protect young women from powerful men, that's less creepy.
How are they protected?
By something like alimony.
Oh, okay. So as long as
your husband starts to
get paid, as long as they get paid.
If your husband starts to beat you and you haven't worked for 10 years because your man picked you up when you were 17, 18, and you know nothing else, and then suddenly you have nothing, you can't leave, you can't get an apartment because your husband or your boyfriend has all the finances.
You're beholden to your own choices. That's terrible, Lav.
So you think that women who are beat should stay?
I don't think that. I think that is you're loading it now. Now you're changing the goalpost and saying now they're getting beaten. We're talking specifically. No, you said specifically this. What if she's dependent on his income? So what? And then she no longer wants to be. She no longer wants to be. Okay, beaten is grounds for leaving anybody anywhere at any time.
Yes, but you're less likely to leave if you are financially dependent on that man.
Okay, do you think that what's going on is that women are leaving men because they're getting beaten? That's the core reason for why they're leaving men? Like, what are you talking about?
I'm not saying that this is I'm not saying this is applicable to every single person. I'm saying that
most? Is it even applicable to most
Probably
people?
Not.
No,
and I don't think every scenario is creepy. But I think also, first thing that I'm like, when a man is like, oh, I want like a young woman, I think that he wants someone that he can control. And that's
sure. It's not because she's young and hot and he wants to have lots of sex with. That's not it. It's because he wants to control her. Not because men are attracted to. Hang on, Lav. Hang on.
With a 26-year-old.
Would you agree or disagree? Agree or disagree? Older men like to have sex with young, hot women. Agree or disagree?
Agree, and you can also be a 25 or 26-year-old who's
Lav, what possible alternative incentive could a man possibly have other than control and manipulation to want to have sex with a young, hot woman all the time? Could there be any other incentive besides control and manipulation you could think of there?
You're getting a little hairy though. The younger you get, what's stopping people from marrying a 16-year-old?
Well, there's standards. There's moral standards for that.
Why moral standard from 16 to 18? Does the brain change significantly in those 2 years?
No. It's because there actually has to be some arbitrary, and there it is. Every side will agree that there's an arbitrary. Stop. There's an arbitrary.
So my arbitrary line is 25.
You haven't even let me start yet. No, it's not 25. You're not advocating. You're not advocating that only 25-year-olds get married. And if you are, it's only because you're banking on some type of brain. It's because you're only banking on some kind of like absurd brain development thing where you say their brain doesn't fully develop until they're 25. But here's the thing. Some of their brains do develop before they're 25. That's one. Two, when you look at the brain itself, they don't get that much more intelligent between the ages of 20 and 25. And let's not forget this.
Between 18 and 25.
Since there is this kind of arbitrary starting point, and it's once we establish that it's 18, it's not arbitrary anymore. There's a system in place. Now we're not talking about an arbitrary system.
So why is it 18 then?
It's 18 because we have to have a starting point.
Okay, but why can't we just say it's 14?
Some states, God help us, have said that.
Okay, well, why is that wrong? God help us, why is that wrong?
There's universal.
By your logic, why is that wrong?
I just told you there's universal moral agreement on this. So unless you're going to make the moral case that it should be lowered, because I'm not. Unless you're going to make the moral case that it should be lowered. Stop. I'm saying it's moral that we have a starting point where the human female is at least to the point of full development, and that is, I think, arguably. No, I don't think you can be.
You absolutely can.
But in any case, if we start,
it could be as young as 13.
If we start there,
can we come on your podcast?
Hang on. Lav, are we going to make a moral? Are you going to make the moral argument that we should lower the age of consent?
No, I think
Okay,
that
well
it should
then their whole point's moot.
No, I think
let's also
Your
let
whole point's
to
moot.
me it's not arbitrary at 25. We have
Yes,
actual
let's also
scientific
let
proof that the brain is done developing at 25.
guys. Let's also let some of the other people get a word in because they've been silent for like literally 10 minutes, and then you can obviously continue this line of questioning after that. So yeah, Tom, Michael, do you want to add anything to this?
Michael,
Yeah,
you
Leo,
said
my
earlier-
question,
actually,
go ahead,
go ahead. No. Go ahead.
Leah, my question was, so the financial manipulation thing. So I have some friends of mine. Obviously, this is not the majority, but I have some friends of mine that make a lot of money here in Las Vegas. They're females, and they specifically date men who make a lot less money than them, specifically so that they get like male strippers or VIP hosts because they can control them.
Yeah.
But there's not a big age difference. And my whole thing is like, let's just say you have a woman, she's divorced, she's 35 years old, she has 2 kids, and she's in a dire financial strait, and she's married to a wealthy man. I just don't think age is the problem. If you have a disparity of wealth, that's a disparity of wealth.
I don't think it is usually either. I'm just saying that you are more likely to in that
Sure.
age gap. So that's why I'm saying it's case by case. Like,
Okay.
I think it's up for scrutiny always.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And then my other issue
What
was,
does that, well, wait, what does that mean? Up for scrutiny?
Like we should scrutinize. We should look closer at
Who's
those
we?
relationships.
Who's we should?
Like we as a people.
I mean, it's just everybody.
Society.
Just
yeah.
like the
Yeah, I
guy
would say
down the
society.
road. The guy down
These
the
should be,
road.
like, red
who's like,
flags,
hey,
right?
you're with an older dude. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, I think we should look out for our neighbor.
You're gonna look into their personal relationship.
If
Lav?
I hear my neighbor screaming and the sound of her husband beating her, I'm probably going to call the police.
You wouldn't
yeah.
look into that if they were of the same age bracket, Lav?
No, of course I would.
Of
I'm
course
just
you
saying
would.
that we
So I
should
don't
look
know- I don't
out
know what
for
this means
fellow
then.
man, right?
Yeah, I don't know why this means specifically we would be
You're
scrutinizing.
like
it.
oppositionally defiant today.
I would say that it
Andrew.
is a red
Are you on your
flag, like,
period?
I would say that
Do
it
you
is a
even
red
have
flag.
periods anymore?
Wait, guys,
I'm
let's-
free bleeding
wait,
right now.
guys. My whole thing was like, hey, let's hear from the other guests, and then somehow it went back to this. I can tell you guys have a lot of contention, so I promise I will give you guys ample time. But let's let
I would
Tom
say
finish.
that it is a red flag. Like generally, but it's not going to be my neighbor. I don't even know my freaking neighbors. But like my friends, my family, like I would be
That's a
bit more
problem.
worried about them, and I would care more. Like let's say somebody is dating my sister, and age matters, right? If my sister's like 25 and she's dating somebody 45, I don't care so much anymore. But if she's like 18 or below 25, I think it matters a lot more. And so if she's dating somebody that's 20 years older than her, and he wants her to like leave her family, move away, she, get away from her friends, she's going to lose a lot of the support that she would have to hopefully like hold her accountable against somebody who's going to be abusive.
Tom, if you were to find data which were to show that homosexuals disproportionately molested boys, would you be more likely to scrutinize them about
Yes,
adoption and
the
things
Boy
like
Scouts
that, Tom?
did that. The Boy Scouts did that,
Stop,
and it was
Lav.
great.
Is your name Tom, Lav? So anyway, Tom, would you be more likely to scrutinize them based on that, Tom?
It depends on how big of a difference it is, but probably if it's
You would?
it would be
You would be
something that
so you would be looking at your neighbor who was a homosexual who adopted a kid and be like,
I said I
should
would
look
not be
into that."
looking at. I said I wouldn't be looking at neighbors, but like friends and family, people that I'm already checking in on, people that
What about
I already.
okay?
care
Now,
about.
what about you, Lav? Would you be like, I don't know about you gays over there who have adopted that kid. That's
So the Boy
I'm
Scouts
not
had
sure
an
about
initiative
that.
because there were so
I asked
many.
you. I don't care about what the Boy Scouts did. What about Lav? What's Lav going to do?
I am in favor of institutions like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean that might actually be based, Lav. I don't know. Like that might be the first base thing you've said tonight. So.
I don't think that we should give like sex workers kids either. Like if they're in active sex work, yeah, I think that's probably like a bad thing.
Can we
Who's
just take
giving them kids?
Yeah, like I don't think that people in
the
who are
seed of the men they hump
prostitutes should be able to adopt. Right? Like people who are actively prostitutes probably also shouldn't be able to have like IVF.
What's
interesting?
We should control society a little bit more. I think I'm a little more authoritarian.
Wait, Lav, are you doing the eugenics thing now?
Am I, dude? To say that it's eugenics to want a better society and to have children with people who you think will give better offspring, if that's
Sounds
eugenics,
very-
then yeah,
sounds very
I'm
ethno-
eugenicist.
That's not
I'm sure I'm
eugenics.
eugenicist.
Sounds very
Eugenics would be
ethno-nationalist to
Yeah,
me.
eugenics would be literally, I am looking at the
Yes.
genetic of a certain thing and saying, well,
Yes.
because this person has brown eyes instead of blue, I'm going to terminate the embryo. That's actual eugenics.
Yes.
Is that what you're in favor of?
I realize that. No, I'm not in favor of that. But Andrew is he thinks that anyone who even just like is picky and choosy, women who are picky and choosy with who they give kids to, is like a problem.
Oh, so you're just making shit up now, or?
No, we've had this conversation before.
When did I say in that conversation that any woman who picks and chooses who she wants to reproduce with is bad?
I said if I remember correctly, I said
you
the
don't
word
remember
dysgenic.
correctly because what you just said is absurd.
I said the word dysgenic, and you were like, "Oh, you're a eugenicist now," and I was like, "I guess so. I guess so."
Oh, Leah, can I ask you a question real quick? What is the obviously?
Okay, hang on, Michael. I can't let her get away with this. So
don't let her get away with it.
So,
Andrew,
Lav,
don't let her.
are you going to go ahead and correct the record that I never said that women shouldn't be able to choose who they reproduce with? Because that never came out.
You don't think women are the sexual selectors? You had a problem with me saying that.
No, women do control who gets to reproduce and who doesn't.
You don't think they should?
When you say that they're a sex selector, though, what I'm talking about specifically is that men inside of a hierarchical society, right? If we chose to, we could make sure that women had no choice. That was my point.
You are correct, Andrew. Thank you.
I know I'm correct.
What were you going to say, Michael?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we would agree, like maybe there's a difference between 18 and 38, but is there a difference between 30 and 50? What I'm saying is that 20-year gap can be different. And I'm curious, once we get to like, say, age 25 or all bets off, she could date like a 60-year-old and you wouldn't have an issue with it?
I think so. Yeah, I think about 25.
So 25
when the brain is fully developed, I think it's up for less scrutiny. I think when there's still like a teen in your age, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, after 30, absolutely. Usually by 30, you have an established career. And if you don't, you're sort of just like.
And how many breeding years do you have left?
At 30?
Mm-hmm.
About 5.
Yeah. And you think that that's healthy for a society that can't currently reproduce
itself? So you're the eugenicist. So you're
that's not eugenics. That would be the opposite of eugenics.
You still get plenty of good eggs.
That would be the opposite of eugenics. That would be
projects.
That would be progenic.
For 5 years, you are still are giving very good quality eggs, and you're also probably way more apt to be a parent.
And as more women have waited until they're in their 30s in order to start having children, what's happened to the reproduction rate inside of all Western nations, Lav?
It drops below what you.
It drops below replacement rates, not what I would like it to be, but just to replace you and the other person.
So we won't get Social Security.
No, it's not just that you won't get Social Security.
We have a better offspring. But we have a better offspring.
Laugh. North Korea and Japan, they won't be there. North Korea won't be there in 100 years. It's gone because they can't reproduce.
Okay.
Do you know what this does drastically to the human race?
The US becomes the biggest world power without any.
Yeah. Do you know that the US also is not reproducing? So what happens is you just have to bring in endless amounts of migrants to replace the population of the United States endlessly.
We could party with migrants.
Yeah, but you're not listening to what I'm saying to you. If their reproduction rates go below replacement, our reproduction rates go below replacement, then human beings start to decrease as a population on planet Earth. That's a big problem, huge problem.
No, and then the Earth heals.
The Earth heals.
Yes.
You mean the people who are out there planting all of those trees because it's a continuous source of renewed energy, a source of renewal period?
Housing costs would be way lower. Holy shit.
No, they wouldn't. What would happen is you would just have a consolidation of land inside of the hands of very few people. That's what happened before.
I want to redirect.
That's what happened before, Lav. That's what feminism was trying to fight, Lav. It's trying to fight land barons and shit like that to stop the evil patriarchy from consolidating too much of that land, because that's what they were doing.
Okay, wait, real quick.
I don't think that's a one-for-one.
Hang on, please. So I want to bring back to the initial topic, because right now we're talking about like replacement rate and like.
Yeah, Andy's on his period.
So, hang on, I'm not trying to like blame someone. I'm just saying like a fact. So let's go back to the initial topic. Like again, I kind of let it go for a little bit because it seemed like it was relevant, but I feel like now it's just kind of going side tangent. So anyway, let's also again give Tom and Michael a chance to get a few words in. If they have any.
Oh, come on, they come for blood, Alex, right?
That is true. And I'm sitting here watching. No, I mean, I'm just trying to understand your argument. Now, here's the thing I will say that's refreshing about your argument, Leah, is that you are not a 37-year-old woman telling us that it's creepy. You're a younger woman telling us that it's creepy. I don't agree with you that it's creepy. One of the issues that I've seen, and maybe you'll agree with me on this, is that women who made really, really poor choices in their life, they get to an older age and then they're not being chosen by the men who previously chose them before, or they're getting to hang out with those men, even having sex with those men, but those men aren't choosing them for long-term relationships. And that bitterness then leads for them to go on TikTok and other social media platforms and say things like what's her name? Mia Khalifa said, older men who date younger women have a mental disorder, things like that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Everything Mia Khalifa's ever said is complete. I hope we put one of those witch cages on Mia Khalifa.
For sure. But you understand what I'm saying? That there are some women in this space who might be saying what they're saying out of cope, out of the fact that they're just not getting chosen anymore. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, I think I have a problem with the whole. I don't think that men should be choosing women. I think that women should be choosing men, and we should stop having sex with men unless we're married, or at least engaged. At least engaged. And so then men can't choose us anymore. They just have to deal with it. They just have to deal with whether or not we choose to have sex with them and give them children.
Laugh, can you quickly clarify that, because it's an interesting point that you're making. What do you mean exactly when you say that women shouldn't be choosing men should be choosing, or something along the lines of that?
I think women are the sexual selectors in society, and because we hold the key, we hold the portal to the other world in our wombs, and God has given us that bigger calling, or whoever you believe in, we have this bigger calling from the world, and men. I think that men are very useful in society. I think that they are protectors, but what they're protecting is the womb, essentially. What they're protecting is the feminine mystique in some way. And so, I think that women have more keen senses, smell, sight, even higher, stuff like that, to choose the best mate to give the best offspring.
I'm still honestly a bit confused. So, like, would you then say that, like, a guy approaching a girl on the street, if she didn't give him like any choosing signals, is wrong? Or
no? I think no, I don't think so at all. I think that you should try to, if there's like a hot girl, you should definitely try to talk to her.
She's talking about power dynamics, Alex.
It's up to a woman to decide whether or not to give you children.
Yeah, she's saying that women are more powerful if they gatekeep sex and they gatekeep their womb, which is true. They become much more powerful in society. That's what she's saying. Okay. Right, Lav? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anyway, Michael, you were saying something before that?
No, I've just asked her a question, and that's I thought that was
a little tangent. That was a little tangent. Sorry, but
Tom, is there any questions that you want to ask or build on?
I guess one of the things is like I don't. Michael, you were saying earlier that like a manipulative person is going to be manipulative, whether it's at like 21 or 41. I don't know that it even has to be purposefully manipulative, which is why I was talking about putting barriers on the relationship earlier. Like, I think that you are generally a lot more capable and ready to do a lot of things when you're older that younger people aren't, and you just might not be mindful of that. Like
I just found like a moral grounding I didn't have when I was 21 years old. Like I was like, when I was Dr. Buss in his evolutionary psychology class. No, it wasn't Dr. Buss. It was a different evolutionary psychologist. Was asking the men in the class. It was like, hey, how many of you have ever lied to a woman and said that you're more willing to be in a relationship in order to have sex with them? And something like 73% of the men said yes. And then they asked the women, how many times have you been lied to in order for a man to try to have sex with you? Or I think the question was love bombed. And it was something like 89% of the women said that they had done something like that. I don't think it's a function of age. I think really attractive women, and a lot of times that has to do with youth, have the ability to manipulate every bit as much as a man with money, every bit as much. And as they are younger, may actually have more of an ability to manipulate and or more likely to, because they don't have the moral grounding at that point. Maybe they don't have children. Maybe they're just I just know so many catch me outside. How about that type of like Danielle Bergoli type women who are just like, don't give a fuck in the first place. And they're just willing to go at it and do whatever they have to do to manipulate men and think that it's funny. So I just don't, my argument is, whereas I can see maybe there's some argument there, but the argument of manipulation, I just see it going both ways. I've seen, if you were to ask me right now, with 26% of men under the age of 30 being virgins and 33% of men under the age of 30 having like zero sexual partners in the last year, if you were to ask me from that standpoint, who's being manipulated more, it seems like there's a small group of women sleeping with, or a large group of women sleeping with a small group of men, and a large group of men having very few options, and they are the ones actually being manipulated. And while we could have a debate on whether or not OnlyFans is manipulating women, which we could definitely have that debate. The fact of the matter is men are still paying for it. And so that shows to me a lack of abundance and a high level of desperation, which would allow them to be more easily manipulated. So that's why I just don't necessarily. I
think that would make sense if men weren't creating the market for that. I think that would make sense if men weren't actively creating.
Well,
the
that
market.
doesn't matter.
Because a lot of women do not. I don't think that anyone. I mean, if you're a sex worker, your life is not good. Like, you're not happy.
But women are providing the service.
So I'm not going to argue about the sex workers.
What does power mean? So, like, a comfortable life with, like, I don't know what power means in this case. Then, if sex workers or young sex workers have power over men,
I don't mean sex workers.
They want them. Like,
I'm sorry. I meant to say just young, attractive women. I was using OnlyFans as a.
Then what is power in this case? Because certainly not political power, certainly not financial power. So sexual power, which can get a man to do a lot, admittedly. But truthfully, outside of that relationship dynamic, even in the world, a 40-year-old man has much more power generally than a 18-year-old woman, immeasurably so.
Measurably, unless she is the one who manipulates that powerful 40-year-old man.
Within the relationship to get like a purse or shoes.
Well, the majority of murder over the course of human history has been men killing other men over resources and women. So, like, there is a manipulation there. Not manipulation, but the level of control that a woman can have over a man, which was my only argument, by the way, was I think equal to the manipulation that a man can have over a woman. And I also think it's a small group of men that have that wealth enough to do that. Whereas what
Lav is saying is true, right? So what Lav is saying is that ultimately force or raw power stays with men. So the question really, I guess, ultimately for this becomes, without the simp, does the whore have any power? Does the prostitute have any power without the John? And the answer is no, they don't.
I don't think so.
I mean, with the John, they don't have any fucking power. It's a false sense of power.
Well, I don't even think that it's lasting, though. Like, when we're talking about them manipulating with lust, thankfully men have post-nut clarity, so it's not very long-lasting. But on top of that, like, porn industry and all these other things.
She wants to come on your show, Lab.
Come on the show.
No, wait, Tom. In a virtuous society, men would recoil. They recoil in horror from those types of displays from women or from other men inside of virtue-based societies. It's literally revolting.
Sure,
to
but
them.
I'm talking about from a pragmatic sense.
This is a pragmatic sense. Most nations have decency laws. Most nations have decency laws where if a display like that is done, the population recoils in horror at the display.
Michael, if you want to have your girlfriend weigh in, feel free. It's fine.
No, she has to go. She's judging the bikini competition, ironically. So she has to actually leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm arguing that I don't think us watching porn or paying for porn is us being manipulated at high rates. I think we just have much higher sex drives and that we're just like, we want a variety of things, even if we're satisfied with one person. And so I don't know that that is some sort of manipulation. I think that that's
a manipulation over women's sexuality on a large marketable scale.
Two different.
Brother, women are not always the victims. They don't have to be the victims of everything. Like,
of the sex trade, they are. Also, of the sex trade, they are.
Oh my God.
Leah, I agree with you. In a lot of cases, that's the case. If you came to Las Vegas, I could introduce you to hundreds of women who actually enjoy everything that they're doing, and I've asked them a million times.
They tell you they enjoy it. They have to sell a dream.
So one of my friends.
I mean, that's unfalsifiable, right? They say that they do it, but secretly they don't mean that they enjoy it. It's like, come on, how could we prove or disprove?
The sex industry has one of the highest rates of mental illness in any occupation,
and the highest rate of suicide is men who get divorced by women who manipulate them and then take their own life.
That's because women have the highest rate of mental illness, and the sex industry is filled with women.
Whatever.
That's why.
No,
that's literally why. That's why that's the case.
Okay. So Leah, Jamie Lynn Gillette, she's a marriage and family therapist who comes on my show frequently. She had exactly the same argument she did. She said there's no way that women in sex work would ever be happy. And then she started interviewing them, and she's like, I have completely changed my mind. There are some women who are absolutely happy.
There's some women.
And no, but it's more than you think. And the part of the reason why, and I'm not advocating for this at all, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but because what's happened is now they can stay at home, have sex with their husband on OnlyFans, film it, and make $200,000 a year gender. That's the reason why they're in sex work and they're actually not unhappy about it. That's
Sure, I mean, that is
I'm not
that's
advocating
also
for
the
this.
most ethical form of sex work in which they're not being taken advantage of.
But
right?
but that's becoming the most common form of sex work. If you look at OnlyFans, that's what women are doing.
It's
And also, that's completely anecdotal. Welcome to Mexico, guys. Sorry, hold on.
It's definitely not the most common.
It's all good. Wait, real
work,
quick.
but...
Actually, it's a good time to
You just kick the wall. Just kick the wall. Sorry,
dude. It's like that. The fucking lights go off.
I want to really quickly introduce Torsha and get her caught up. Torsha, the first topic we're debating, which we got probably another 10, 15, 20 minutes of, is there something wrong with an age gap in relationships, meaning the guy's like 50 and the girl's like 18 or 19, like think Leonardo DiCaprio. So really quickly sum up everyone's positions. Andrew is like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, it's probably more optimal. Michael seems to be neutral about it. Lav does not think it's good. And Tom also seems to be somewhat neutral about it.
She mostly thinks
I am neutral to like, I'm like a neutral and slightly bad. I'm not like it's all bad. Let me clarify.
Okay. But I mean, okay, that's fine.
Neutral to bad. Neutral to bad.
Okay. It seemed like you were largely arguing on the behalf that, like, hey,
in certain cases, absolutely bad.
Okay.
But that's still the fringe cases.
Okay. I understand. So yeah, Torsha, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay. Well, listen, if anybody would tell me at 20 that I couldn't marry a sugar daddy, I'd be like, fuck you. That's my position.
There we go.
Mind your business.
That's a healthy preference, though, right? That's how. But the sugar daddy's a creep. That's the way it works. It's creepy. What he's doing.
That was Lav's argument from Incrudelity, is that it's creepy.
I did a lot of things
she
that I thought were super smart. And then I look back 5 years later and I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe nobody looked out for me while I did that.
Also,
but everybody does this with
Alex,
everything.
can you turn down Torsha's mic a little bit? It's like
sorry.
It's
no
not your fault. It's same thing might happen to tomfoolery. So.
Okay.
I'm not saying that you should go to jail if you marry an 18-year-old. I just think that personally, it ups my ick factor. I think it's yucky.
I know, but it ups my ick factor that you find it icky. So that's the argument.
And you're entitled to your opinion,
right? So it's just that you're icky and it's icky. And
I'm on here as a fucking personality. You might think that you know all the secrets of the universe.
Well, so
I'm here just giving an opinion, just like you are.
At
Andy.
what point?
Your opinion is icky.
At what point do you find it icky? Like, what is the? Because aren't you?
She said before 25.
Yeah, before 25.
She said before 25.
And so in what before 25? 10 years before 25? 20 years before 25?
The fixed male age being 50 at this point. I think you should cap at 25.
Why?
Because when a woman's like brain is not developed, and I think that a lot of people don't raise their daughters to have any sense these days, so they're just like a bunch of stupid women running around who are under 25.
Baby them longer.
No, I
would say it's a red flag.
Them longer. I think that we should scrutinize these relationships, and then we should teach women to be extremely self-aware of what they're capable of in a relationship and what they're going into. Yeah.
I mean, I dated somebody that was 38 when I was 20, and it was a great relationship. So I know you had bad experiences, but other people
No, I never had a bad experience with that. This is not a personal argument an all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
None of us are
just,
here
so you're
streaming
just
on
saying
Playing
the
with Fire
factor.
right now or
Can I just clarify?
stories.
Just an ick factor? Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah, so
okay.
I gave the example earlier of like, if you are an 18-year-old, you meet your husband and he's great and he has all this money and you think your life is made, and then and he's like 50, 10 years, let's say 5 years later, you're 24, 23 at this point, and he starts beating you. Let's say that he starts beating you 6 months into the relationship. Actually, 6 months into the relationship, he starts beating you. But you come from poverty. Life is made now because he has an established career because he's in his 50s. He has political power because he's in his 50s, and he probably has all these friends, work, whatever, and whatever. He has power over you in that way. You are less likely to leave a relationship if your life is made, and with that man can now financially dominate you and emotionally abuse you. And I also don't think that your partner should take on a mother or a father role. And I think you're more likely to do that with an age gap relationship.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, Andrew, I know that you're younger than me, but I just want you for your good looks and your body, and I'm going to pamper you for the rest of your life and give you everything that you want. No, stop, please stop, though, the abuse. Oh, so this is so terrible.
If you want a woman for her good looks and body, she's only going to have that for so long, and then what do you do with her? That's disadvantageous.
Spend her money. Spend her money. What do you mean? What would I do with her? Same thing she would do, right?
And then
Spend
he's just going to throw you away and get a new one. That's disadvantageous for women.
Well, okay, if they're younger, if they're an 18-year-old woman, and like, let's say that this is a 55-year-old guy, by the time her market value goes down, I don't think he's throwing her anywhere because he's going to be like, what, fucking 75, 80 years old or something. So I don't think you need to worry too much about how much her market value is going to go down in the interim in comparison to what he might want.
Yeah, but then she's like a previously married woman.
Ew.
Yeah. Ew.
What?
Wait, yeah. Would you say the same?
That's almost all women now, right?
I hate to go
that's
that
a problem.
Yeah, but I'm just saying
divorce rates are a problem.
Yeah, but you're just saying kind of like she'll be in the pool that most other women are in who are in already healthy relationships, or what you would have considered healthy relationships.
Yeah, why couldn't that should have been a woman who probably should have been in a healthy relationship.
Yeah, but even the ones that you would consider to be not red flag relationships are mostly going to end up the same way that one in this hypothetical would end up.
What?
Divorced.
Well, I think that there are a couple ways that you can avoid divorce that I would give advice.
Yeah, I know, but you wouldn't consider those relationships to be a red flag to look into like you would these.
I think that
and
there
yet
are
you
more
still
than wait.
Hang on, stop.
There are other red flags.
Let me finish the argument, and I'll give it.
I'll
give it back. Let me just finish the argument. Let me just finish the argument.
You put words in my mouth.
No, I didn't. You said that you
said that I hold this red flag above the other ones. I don't.
No, I didn't
say.
Guys,
let's go one at a time.
I didn't say above anything. I said in this case, you see it as a red flag. So if you see this as a red flag, you're not looking into the other people for this red flag that doesn't exist with other people, right?
You're only looking. Red flags.
So you would look in other red flags that are not these red flags, right? So they don't exist with other groups. They exist with this group. But if that red flag is just leaving to the inevitability of what it leads to with these other groups in the healthy relationships that don't have this red flag, then what's the red flag even fucking there for anyway?
Like a risk factor?
Yeah, but if the outcome is basically the same.
Usually people do risk assessment in scenarios to ensure that they're not going to get hurt or that their life's going to go off the rails, or that's like a pretty normal occurrence for people to do in their lives.
Yeah, okay, but by your logic, it's basically going to end up, at worst, the same as it does in most of the healthy relationships that you wouldn't put the red flag on, right?
That particular red flag, it could also end in divorce. I'm confused on what you're asking.
So I'll rephrase this the best way that I possibly can, okay?
Okay.
You think that this is a red flag. The thing that you're trying to kind of argue is this could potentially lead to divorce because he decides that he doesn't want her later or something like this.
That's one of the risk factors of that red flag is just simple divorce. Yeah.
Okay, but with that red flag, that's most of the health.
That's like the least of the worries.
But that's like most of the healthy relationships that you wouldn't put that red flag on also going to end up that way, right?
Sure, but that is also the best case scenario in an age gap relationship is that you divorce. that's like one of the better case scenarios.
Yeah, but the rest of them are outliers.
Or that
from
your
that, right? The rest of them are outliers from that.
The divorce isn't what she's afraid of, though, is it?
Yeah,
like,
no.
The manipulation.
Divorce is not great.
Like a bunch of, divorce.
Yeah, but aren't these outlier cases for the most part? Like, aren't they? So,
yes,
Andrew,
I mean,
who gives a shit again?
Do I have to say this?
So, I mean,
I don't
who gives
think
a shit
this is
again?
all cases.
Yeah, but why even put a red flag on if it's just all outliers?
Because those cases are so bad that I think it's worth bringing up.
Aren't all red flags outliers?
Well, no,
not necessarily. Not now. I think some red flags are becoming very common. But Leah, I have a question for you. So let's go just specifically to, like, say, the Leonardo DiCaprio situation, where a lot of women are upset because he keeps, like, predictably dumping women when they turn 25 years old. Yeah. And my question is, that's probably the least kept secret in the world. Like, everyone knows that, and yet the women are lining up by the hundreds in order to do that.
Of course.
And so my question is, are they absolved of responsibility because he has so much power? And is it like, oh my God, of course it's Leonardo DiCaprio. So they should take some blame too for wanting to date older men.
Not wanting to date older men. I think that if you're I mean, obviously, I just have to scrutinize your moral compass if you're just like, that this guy's gonna like turn you over. I mean, get what you can out of it, I guess, but then you're wasting your best childbearing years on a man who's not going to marry you.
Yeah, but that's their problem. That's the girl's problem.
Of course it is. But I'm
So-
saying if I were to give advice,
Advice?
yes, if I were to give these women advice, which is what Michael asked me a personal question. He wants to know my opinion.
Yeah, I just want to
My
like they're not absolved of responsibility is what I'm saying, because that's one of the issues that I have with the argument.
I think these women have the wrong priorities, and I think that they're ultimately hurting themselves.
Are they being stupid, Lav?
Yeah, I think
Would
that
you
they're being stupid.
would you tell them you're being a stupid woman?
Yes.
Yeah, see.
But
now
what-
I have
that's good advice.
many friends in LA. I have a friend in LA who broke up a marriage of an older man, and because he was a millionaire. And I was like, you are retarded. You are dumb. You're wasting.
Maybe
This shit
I'm
is not
missing
gonna. In 5 years, your life, you're not gonna be as hot. You're not gonna be as whatever. You're not gonna be as wanted, and you're completely fucking your life. You're not preparing for the second half of your life.
Maybe I'm missing it, but what are we saying? Like, what is the negative outcome coming from young women manipulating men? Like, if we're saying like that they're using their beauty and things to get into relationships, these are generally things that men value anyways, and these are things that men want. But what are they using those to do afterwards? Like,
Lav, real quick before you
their
answer.
money?
Lav, real quick before you answer. So I want to give like a 5 to 7 minute warning for this topic, so everyone knows before we move on to the next topic. Okay, go ahead, Lav.
This is more so for Michael. I'm asking like what is the negative outcome that we're afraid there? Because with men, we're talking about them using this to like keep them in this relationship. They're able to like get them away from their friends and family and kind of like seclude them so that they don't really know what their options are.
Yeah.
They're kind of stuck.
Worst case scenario, you just don't get to have sex with a young woman. That's the manipulation.
I don't think women are capable of using their beauty to do those things, whereas men can use their money, their knowledge, their maturity, their their career experience, all of these other things to do those things.
So there are some studies out there that show, they're called, like I said, May December marriages, where it's a much older man with a much younger woman, and in those cases there is there's situations where a man will do a lot of mate guarding in order to keep his girl, but that's because she is of a very high level of attractiveness in comparison to him, and so that whole situation. What my whole point about this whole deal is that I don't think one side has the ability to manipulate more than the other. I do understand that the man is going to be more. Have more experience, but that doesn't necessarily make him more manipulative. And so, like going back, like you said before, with the whole situation with Leonardo DiCaprio, he is apparently bad because he has all these 25-year-old. Once the women turn 25, he gets rid of them and goes on to the next one. And by the way, a lot of those women don't come back and complain. They got to date Leonardo DiCaprio from their standpoint.
I think one of the biggest, a big scrutiny, at least of women or feminists who look at the Leonardo DiCaprio situation, is that we should, it is imperative that we influence men to settle down faster, to want families before they turn 50, right? Like, I think it is, it's vain, it's dysgenic, and it's sort of morally corrupt for a man to go his whole life using and turning out women and not creating a family. So that's like a
is that your argument or the feminist argument?
Well,
that's your argument.
I think that's like the inherent uncomfortable feeling of most women when they look at the Leonardo DiCaprio situation. Like,
got it.
It is.
What feminists are saying that goes against sexual liberation.
You've talked, Andrew, I'm sure that you've talked to retarded feminists. I'm sure that you have talked to genuinely stupid feminists, and I'm sure that there are a lot of feminists who don't agree with the point that I just made.
Lee, I don't even know if it's feminist. I think it's just older women who just don't like, because one of the things that happens is there's two parts here. One, we're going to look at what they call the Peter Pan syndrome, where a man continues to. See, here's the thing. You're looking at the 50-year-old man and his wealth, and you're like, oh, well, he should have just got married at 32. What if he wasn't wealthy at 32? I can tell you a lot of guys, they become more established later in life, and they had to work really hard to get to that, level of comfortability and wealth. And then all of a sudden they're like, you're selfish for not creating a family as soon as you can. When in reality, like during his early 20s, he had very few options with women. And now he has more because he's finally put on some muscle. He has some gray hair. Like he actually at some point in his life can afford a house, maybe 2 houses, maybe a car, things like that. He has some level of financial freedom. This is the first point in his life where he's actually turned into the 21-year-old hot girl.
I don't
He's
think
getting
that's I
attention from
don't I
women.
don't think that that's the case with most women. Like Leonardo DiCaprio is actually not at his sexual prime. He's not the hottest he's ever been. He's not the richest he's ever been. So I think in a lot of cases, like with Andrew
He
Tate,
probably is the richest he's ever been, but yeah.
It's a lot of, well, maybe now
Or
after
different,
after the new Martin Scorsese movie as well. But but like for most men, like you're sort of pointing out this dynamic in which like an incel finally becomes attractive. That happens far less frequently than a man who wants to enjoy his prime for as many years as possible.
No, I think the incel is becoming the not the incel. Let's let me use the word incel because I don't like that from a statistical standpoint. Sure. The man who has very few sexual options for whatever reason, and that could actually be the very healthy guy who happens to be just an E3 in the U.S. Army and has been deployed several times.
Sure.
He has very few options with women. He's stationed at Fort Hood or he's stationed at No Hope Pope or someplace like that where there's just no women around, and then or a guy who like works in an oil derrick in West Texas or one in Alaska. There's just no women around, so that's one situation. He's not an incel, but he just doesn't have a lot of options with women, and he's stacking up his money for the part of his 20s and 30s, and then once he gets established and now he wants to go off and play the field, this is the first time for him to do it. I'll tell you, I wasn't married, but I was married to the federal government when I was a U.S. military officer, and that was a period of time in my life where normal traditional dating was not available to me because I lived in Wichita, Kansas, Altus, Oklahoma, and Warner Robins, Georgia. So because of those places, once I got out, now I'm 33 years old. I've got money saved up. I've got a GI Bill, and I'm a retired U.S. Air Force captain. And now I have these options that maybe, a lot of people like back at the church would have been like, why didn't you get married at 25, 26?
Sure.
And I'm like,
well,
because I didn't get to see a hot woman for a long time.
Absolutely. And I think that that's totally, and I think that most people, or at least I keep that in mind, that there are people like that. But also we have to talk about, there are people who come out of the military. You're more likely to beat your wife if you're in the military. So if we have all of these
you're
men,
also more likely to beat your husband if you're a female in the military.
I think what it is you're more likely to get cheated on if you're in the military.
True. No, but if you have a job like that, or even even as a blue collar worker, you are more likely to beat your wife. So I think
the 88% of the military would be blue collar. The enlisted would be blue collar workers.
Yeah. But I'm also saying just like outside of the military, blue collar workers, cops, or construction, like you're more likely to beat your partner. So then, you add an age, and then you're dating an 18-year-old and your ex-military, and
I don't think the military thing has anything to do with it. I think it's
naive. I think that that's worth. I think that there's so many risk factors. This is not the only red flag. I think that if I experience you on a double date with your girlfriend and you're treating her well and she's very happy and I'm friends with her and she's not telling me that you're doing anything weird, no fucking problem. I don't care about your age.
Lab, we're gonna make that happen. We're gonna make that happen.
I don't care. At that point, I don't care about your age difference at all. And in fact, if you're taking care of her, it's very probably advantageous for both.
I just feel like that just would apply to anybody, though. That's the whole problem.
Yes,
Andrew.
I don't think age is the end all be all. I'm just saying it's a
It doesn't even sound like it's a factor. It just sounds like you would just act this way regardless of who it was. If somebody came to you and was like, my husband's beating me, you wouldn't give a shit about I don't even understand why the age thing is a problem. You know what I mean?
Obviously.